It's up to you, New York, New York. How we doing, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast here on Facebook and YouTube. With me today on this glorious Sunday, my good friend, originally from the Hudson Valley. I think you're now still in Hollywood, Florida, correct?
See,
All right. Corey Rain, my good friend, fellow Yankee fan. Welcome back to the show, bro.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And on today's show, I titled it Pitchers, Catchers, Planes, and All-Star Games. We're going to hit on the American League Central today, loosely give our picks on how we see the division shaking out. We're also going to kind of give a whip around of last week in the world of sports and entertainment, as that there is more evergreen stuff to speak on than in previous weeks, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. I'm also going to hit on a historical boxing note, as two boxing legends, while the date has not been set, will be getting it on more than likely, at least I hope so, talking about Floyd Mayweather and Iron Mike Tyson. I think this will be an upgrade over that sham that Netflix put together with Tyson and Paul. But we're going to start this up in the world of entertainment and sports, kind of bleeding into each other here. Talking about these two, Cardi B, who's currently on tour, and her recently ex-man, baby daddy, Stefan Diggs, whose future is definitely a little cloudy right now, given the fact that he recently has been charged with a strangulation situation with his former chef. Of course, the Patriots coming off a disappointing loss in Super Bowl 60, where Diggs had a quiet game, only 3 catches for 30 some odd yards. I personally believe that with a disgruntled receiver in Philadelphia named A.J. Brown, perhaps the Patriots view Diggs as more trouble than he's worth. Cardi B was seen performing, not really performing, but being a part of the set for the Bad Bunny halftime show. And it appears that the real fuel and anger between these two stemmed from Stefan's other baby mama, who was in attendance, and Cardi felt kind of slighted. Corey, what are your thoughts on all this?
Well, from what I hear, Diggs is a very wild boy.
Yeah,
He likes the extracurricular activities when it comes to the ladies. He also got punched in the face during the Super Bowl.
yes, indeed. I took a minute to jump over someone who was being a little too ignorant about the halftime show. I said we need to bring some humor back to NFC Beast. Shouts out NFC Beast, best place on Facebook to talk football. And I said that was for Offset.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's like this is a different lane. These are different situations. Like when I look at a lot of these Hollywood relationships and things of that nature, people can make fun of T Swift and Kelsey all they want. But one thing I'll give both of them props for is that they don't bring all of this other extracurricular like
Right.
madness. Like people might get mad, oh, they keep talking about Taylor, they keep shooting
Right.
clips of her, but Taylor Swift, as big of a superstar as she is the world over, was basically just going as a supportive girlfriend, soon to be supportive wife, soon to be maybe a supportive baby mom. I think they're going
Yeah,
to start a family, I would think.
she's not controversial, and she's
Not like that.
basically one of the biggest artists in the world, and she just does her thing, and like you said, supportive. With Diggs, I think all the legal trouble is just it's just even if he ends up being not guilty, it's just the perception of it is just a terrible look.
Well, he got off on a really bad start with the Patriots. Of course, that video surfaced in the month of August, I believe it was, on the boat, with the pink powdery substance. I don't know what was that, like some kind of upgraded form of yay. I don't know what the fuck that was, but the
Yeah,
point is,
right.
it was a terrible look when you're starting to get your career back after blowing your knee out in Houston, and then things fizzled out in terms of a problematic situation in Buffalo. He's had a propensity for ending things bad with previous teams. We know how Minnesota finished. As party goes, you know, like her music or not, whatever, wherever she stands in your opinion, a lot of other people's opinions, she's recognizable the world over in her own right. She has had bad luck, so to speak, with locking down her forever Valentine, so to speak. But this situation is wild, man. I
It
look at
is.
all of it, and it was like real stone cold when she basically was asked by the media, do you have any good words for your man going into the Super Bowl? And she was just like, good luck. And I
Yeah,
honestly
very.
believe that from a mental standpoint, Steph is kind of like just barely holding it together. I saw his post game
Right.
interview. This is a different kind of attention and a different kind of pressure that it's like the Kelsey thing. Yeah, okay, if you're a football fan, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer in the future, possibly the greatest tight end to ever do it, at least in the conversation. Diggs is a really good wide receiver, da da da. But when you start dealing with these starlets and when people on that level, it's a different kind of fame train and it's a different kind of attention. And when you're screwing up, that shit is under the biggest microscope.
Yep. And it's become a distraction. Like with the Kelsey thing, like you said, it hasn't become a distraction for him. But when it becomes a distraction and most of the attention is negative, it's like you have to change it up, do something different. Like it's just not worth it. It's hard enough to be an athlete, to actually be successful as an athlete.
No, I share your sentiments on that. In closing, the way I think this is going to play out, I think there'll probably be some kind of payoff where Diggs is able to move forward with his career. But I do believe that the New England Patriots are strongly going to consider going elsewhere because this is a team that has a really good team chemistry. I think Mike Vrabel kind of turned the other cheek when it came to what Diggs brings as a locker room leader. And on the football side of things, I think he did a good job. But if you can bring in someone else that brings less attention or somebody that has something to prove that wants to do a little cleanup on their rep, AJ Brown keeps coming to mind. I
Hmm.
think the Patriots might go that route where you see an interconference trade where the Patriots might send some assets to Philly. Philly has proven over the years that they're pretty good at being okay even if they move on from certain talent. But I could see Stephon Diggs looking for a new team next year, whereas in Philly's case, perhaps New England is a trade partner for AJ Brown. I would be shocked if AJ Brown is an Eagle when the new year starts.
That's an interesting situation, and I think that would be like kind of a trade that makes sense, honestly.
I mean, do you even see a scenario where both star receivers switch teams like involved in the same trade? I personally don't have that cooked up, but crazier things have happened. I think in the Eagles case, they will try to get draft picks. In the Patriots case, they're going to try to run it back maybe with a different number one receiver and get back to the Super Bowl. I personally have said it on the show many times. while what Mike Vrabel and the Patriots accomplished this year, I think they were very fortunate. I don't think that it's going
They
to be
were.
as easy a path in future seasons.
Yeah, I don't think they would have beaten Denver. I think they got lucky there, honestly.
I, I personally think that they wouldn't have beaten Buffalo in the third matchup, but we'll never know because it didn't
We'll never
happen.
know.
And speaking of never knowing, and one of the bigger what ifs, 27 years ago today, this guy was taken from us far too young, paying the ultimate price for something that he really didn't have anything to do with. It was a situation with regard to his brother. I'm talking about the late, great Big L, one of the
Mm.
greatest lyricists to ever spit out of New York and once again the world over. This is a guy that did a lot of tours in Europe, a big way how he made his money because a lot of his stuff wasn't radio friendly. He,
No.
of course, ran
Um,
with the likes of OC, Cool G Rap, and was just respected by the biggest hard hitters in hip hop at the time.
he was, and then obviously he was, rolling with Fat Joe and McGruff and all those guys. And this is just a guy that he never reached what he could have been. We didn't get to see the full abilities of Big L, and that's how special he was. The content that he produced was special enough, but to think that it could have been greater is just unbelievable.
I said this to my girlfriend a little bit ago before we started the show because I mentioned to her that you were coming on the show and that we were going to be, talking some sports, but also talking some events, entertainment wise and such. And I told her how Nas, who in many people's estimations is the greatest rapper alive, that he has surpassed Rakim and others because of his ridiculous catalog.
And he's
The
still
ear
putting out new work as well.
For sure, him and Hit Boy, it's kind of like a resurgence, and now the stuff with DJ Premier. But to put it bluntly, Nas flat out said that he was worried about Big L in the sense of like a threat of being the ever elusive King of New York, because that was a crown worn by many in a short period
Yeah.
in the 90s. Of course, the notorious B.I.G. held it for a while. And, there was always a competitive beef of sorts because
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of people don't understand that when Nas dropped the message on his second studio album,
he's going that big.
yes, sir. And a lot of people didn't realize that because Tupac himself thought it was aimed at him. And
Hmm.
of course, Raekwon felt that Biggie stole that style from the Wold, particularly
Also, the
from
album
Raekwon.
covers with the kids on it, they thought that was biting there.
Yeah, so,
Illmatic. Yep.
in the Godson album, Nas tried to address his profound respect for both these artists. Raekwon, posthumous of Biggie, has kind of softened his stance and said that we were all young men just competing for the crown. And,
Yep.
I remember him actually kissing a picture of the Notorious B.I.G. at a gala. So,
Yeah.
everybody grows up. But the point is, Big L never got to ascend to those heights, similar to another guy not far from where Big L grew up, talking about, of course, Christopher Rios, aka Big Pun.
Yep.
Did you hear the new L album, the one that they put out recently?
Yeah, I loved it.
I'm late on that.
Uh,
I'm gonna hear that today, actually.
you should also check out the Mob Deep.
Yes, I heard that was really good. It's amazing how much work these guys did in a short period of time. I mean, of course, we saw that on full display posthumously for Tupac Shakur. The Machiavelli album in a lot of people's top 10, and just so many other albums that he did over the years just goes to show the kind of work he was doing. But Big L was a hustler in the sense of, he was not afraid to get out of his comfort zone. Like he was a
Right.
big hit in Europe.
And also, like, people view him like as a street rapper, but I think he could have crossed over because if you look at songs that he did, like Ebonics, and I think he could have wrote songs that were more crossover than people realize. He wasn't just a street rapper. I don't think. I think he
No, I
had
tend
more
to
potential
agree.
than that. Yeah. And I'm a lyric guy, I like the technicality of rap. And when it comes to that, like, he was just phenomenal. And he was so young. Like, he didn't even reach his
Yeah.
25th. He didn't even reach his 25th birthday before he got taken out, man. It's just
Yeah, really sad. And, a thing that distinguishes him, similar to a thing that would distinguish an Easy E, and by no means am I putting these two in the same lyrical breath, but
Oh
what made
no,
Easy
sure.
E special was nobody sounded like him. And
Yes.
in Big
That
L's case,
voice.
nobody
Yeah.
sounded like him. And he had a very identifiable style, particularly from the clothing down to like just the way he spit,
Mhm.
and that's indicative of Harlem.
Yes.
He truly was special, and who knows where it could have went, but the message here is rest in peace, Big L, gone but not forgotten.
And his music will live on forever. Like his freestyles, people still talk about it. It'll never die.
Yeah, one closing thought on this: Stretch and Bobito,
Oh
the
man,
uh,
yeah.
the freestyle, him and Jay Z next to each other. While I thought
Yeah.
that Jay Z actually upped his game because he knew who was standing next to him, there
Yep.
is absolutely no question that Big L was the guy on that.
Yeah, like Big L with his flow and his delivery on that. And some people say it was a written or what. I mean, either way, it was incredible.
And
Like
another guy,
it blew my mind at a young age. Let's just put it that way.
no, for sure. And another guy that, you know, not far from around my neck of the woods, who I think would have been very special as well. He was spending a lot of time with Lupe Fiasco before his demise, talking about stack bundles. And it's so chilling and cold
Yes.
when I read the report of how the police found him and everything else. He had actually stopped at one of my places that I would often go to in Far Rockaway, which was White Castle. That was always a 12 a.m. or later stop. But that part of Far Rockaway, Redfern Projects, Edgemere, that area, very violent. One of my best
Yes.
friends in high school, his first apartment was there, and it's the kind of situation that if you're going in, you need to be let in. You don't just, you know, stomp your feet in there if you're not from there, even if you literally live 5 blocks, 8 blocks, 10 minutes away, whatever have you. But violence in hip hop, sadly, has always been something that has been linked to one another. And you see it with Nipsey Hussle. You see it with far, far too many artists that actually perish where it all began. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are going through the daily grind of life that don't wish you well. Look at 50
Yep.
Cent, where he got almost taken out
Yep.
right in front of
It,
his grandmother's house.
there's a thing that people like to glorify the streets, but there's evil in the streets, and sometimes when you get out of there, you're not really out because it's hard to it's hard to separate the two. And sometimes, like you said, there's jealousy, there's envy, and it's just too much violence and it connected to hip hop, and it's still going too. That's the sad part.
And the
So,
thing, too, is like, I understand both sides of the equation. When you take a guy like Biggie Smalls when he was alive, always hanging on Fulton Street, very much a
right.
neighborhood presence. Fat Joe for so many years in the Bronx, a neighborhood presence, as many of the members of the Terror Squad. Stack Bundles, when he was really getting on, you could always visibly see him roaming it around Rockaway Beach, Far Rockaway in general. But the point is that you have to have an awareness that people
Yes.
don't want the best for you and they want you to be another statistic. And unfortunately, a lot of these guys have a hard time balancing community versus getting out, because I understand the need and want for a lot of these guys to stay home and make the community that made them
Right.
better. But it's a very sad situation because you look at what happened to Nipsey Hussle. He gave so many people opportunities, and it's just very sad. It's
It's
definitely the black eye in the hip hop slash rap game, and it's unfortunately always been a thing.
the world got worse when Nipsey Hussle left. Period. Like he just has so much to offer, and it's just shameful.
Yeah, very sad, truthfully, and to my point, nothing more than utter hatred and jealousy.
Mhm.
And keeping it on hatred, jealousy, and just two guys that really don't like each other. You can't go further than these two. Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent. Jeffrey Atkins, Ja Rule. Listen, 2 decades ago, Get Rich or Die Trying stomped hip hop in a way that very few albums ever have, where 50 hit the ground running, and the two guys that really put him on, Dr. Dre, Eminem. Dr. Dre, of
Yep.
course, The Chronic is an iconic album. He hit the ground running when he did solo. A lot of that had to do with features, production, the whole bit. Because Dre, I would never consider a great rapper, but a great team and a great plan. It changed the landscape of music. Now, Eminem, while having a cult following and even popular in the mainstream, didn't hit quite the way 50 Cent did. As Ja Rule
Mhm.
goes, if you're tracking him to the mid 90s to the early 2000s, he was just so massive
It
in
was.
blending rap and R&B. He had so many good tracks, whether you're talking about with Ashanti, J-Lo, Fat Joe, the list goes on and on.
And he
But
could rap. Like people act like he couldn't, but he could. He was a good. He could rap. Like he could spit.
yeah, I think something that gets lost in translation with these two is that when 50, with the G Unit mixtapes and trying to ruin Ja Rule's reputation, of course, Ja Rule, Murder Inc., they were aligned with the Supreme team, Kenneth
Yep.
Supreme McGriff, you know, Queen's legends on many levels of the street
That's
game.
why the beef will never die because it's bigger than a rap song.
No, no,
There's
absolutely.
levels to yeah,
No,
yeah,
no question about it. I mean, when Irv Gotti passes away and you got 50 Cent basically laughing at it's a
right.
different level of hatred. And,
Hmm.
this is where I'm going to go with it. Ja Rule, I'm going to give him respect on the man level of that. He took the loss, he moved on with his life. And regardless of how history remembers this beef, I feel that Ja Rule has moved like a very mature person. 50 Cent,
Oh yeah,
you know, I get it. But the dangerous game that I think 50 Cent plays, even going with this P. Diddy reckoning thing, is that you have to make sure your backyard is extremely clean when you are making this many enemies. And I think
yes.
a thing that 50 plays a dangerous game with is like you heard some accounts of his baby's mom about some unsavory things about Fifth.
I've
And of
heard that.
course,
Yes.
the woman that he left his wife for, we all know about it. Fabulous explained it rather descriptively. Point to be made is recently on a plane, Ja Rule is on the same plane as 50 Cent Nut
Tony Yang.
Hugger, aka
Tony.
Tony Yayo,
Yeah, for
as
sure.
well as Uncle Murda. And this is something that cracks me up. Uncle Murda admitted on the Joe and Jada podcast that he completely sensationalized getting shot, things of that nature. Now, Tony Yayo, similar to Lloyd Banks, underlings of 50 Cent. The biggest issue that Fifth had with both of them from a professional level is that he felt that they were lazy and he felt that he
Yes.
had to do too much, almost like the father that gives their kid money and hopes that they don't screw it up. But, the loyalty from Tony Yayo for 50 Cent's never been questioned. But there comes a time in your life where, you know, I don't care if it's street beef or whatever have you, there's a way to move and a time and a place for everything. But at the end of the day, I think we could all agree on this, Corey. Nobody likes a bully.
No, and that's what 50 is. And this is my thing. You don't have to like Ja Rule, but you don't have to keep giving him your energy either.
Well,
Like
that's where
that's
I'm
my
going
point.
with this because when
Like,
it's you look at the comments with regard to this video, or even when you revisit the beef, what a lot of people don't understand is that hip hop's very trendy. We've already saw
yes.
everything about Ja Rule, and like I said, 50 was white hot when he came out. But years removed from this, I think a lot of people, and especially even if you see a situation like this with the way it's moving, more and more people are appreciating Ja Rule now, especially the way he handled himself because he didn't take no shit.
I'm gonna state an unpopular opinion right now. I like I will take Ja Rule's catalog over 50's.
The God's honest truth is so would I, because I think Jadakiss exposed 50, and even a guy like Fat Joe, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but when he got in the ring with 50, There were certain things. 50 is a phenomenal businessman. He doesn't have to rap to make his money. He doesn't even have to rap to win a beef.
No,
But when the general consensus of the public is like, Ja Rule's just minding his business and you guys are fucking with him on
right.
a 2-to-1 situation, I thought Ja Rule handled it really well.
He definitely, and I
And
think
they
it's just a
conveniently
shame.
cut off the camera to make him look like he was terrified, where I think that couldn't be the furthest thing from
Nah,
the truth.
he's always standing on business, and I think the sad part is like the narrative. You know how the world runs on narratives, and I feel like the
Of course.
narrative has just always been, oh, Ja Rule's a bitch. His music sucks. Like that's not even true. It's just
His
people
record
run
sales
the
would suggest differently, but one thing
yeah.
about hip hop that it has always been terrible at is preserving its history and appreciating its history.
Yes.
Because 50 could talk a great game if he chooses to. But the reality is, if we're talking about the gutty, grimy stuff, when the beef was on in a big way, Murder Inc. was at a massive disadvantage as the FBI seized a lot of their funds. They
Yep.
weren't able to run the track, so to speak,
Yeah.
with Interscope, with G Unit. And it's like the art of war. You attack your enemy when they are the absolute weakest, because 50 was
Yep.
on the other side of that when he was
And 50,
recovering.
50 had the machine behind him. Let's be honest. Like you're not gonna go against Shady Aftermath. That you're just not. You have no chance.
No, no, absolutely, especially at that time where they were so damn untouchable. But my
Yep.
ultimate takeaway here is you buried the guy in terms of the entertainment rap beef. His career substantially took a dive where he still makes his money, he still gets appreciated by fans, he still his how would I say this? His umbrella and his audience is smaller than yours. He still eats well, he still does his thing. But
Yeah.
to your point, if your energy is still all the way over him, I could honestly say without really thinking hard about it, 50 is usually the guy shaking the tree. It's not the other way around, or 50's
Exactly.
underlings.
Yeah.
And this is
Exactly.
a situation where I feel that Ja Rule is going to walk away with this looking a lot better than anybody from 50's camp.
Yep. I agree. I agree. And sometimes 50, and I'm a 50 fan, but sometimes he needs to just stop. Like
I'm a fan of
you
both
get,
these guys.
yeah,
And I
exactly.
think
We
one of the best things that could happen, and I don't know if we'll ever see it, but you never know, crazier things have happened. It would be nice if these two, nobody said they had to be besties, but if these two could at least come to some kind of common denominator of sense, like, hey,
right.
haven't enough people been hurt and hasn't enough bad shit happened because of this?
Exactly. Like just make money, guys. It's like there's no reason for it anymore.
Well, and it's very immature at that age. Of course, I highly doubt that any of the three men were stupid enough to go get in a fist fight on a plane and then you get federal charges. But the point I'm making here
Right.
is um, Ja Rule has aged gracefully despite an embarrassing loss where he couldn't really fight fairly back then, if we're being all
He
the way
couldn't.
honest. Like,
He
he
could
took his
not.
last punch in the air with the New York Jam, of course, featuring Fat Joe and Jadakiss. But the reality of the situation was he just didn't have enough armor around him, so to
Nope.
speak. But
He didn't.
I personally think that if it would have come to blows, I think Ja Rule would have been just fine.
Yes. Or if it was on equal footing as far as like if 50 was still like an independent rapper at that time, who knows what would have happened.
No, I completely agree, Corey. You're like-minded with me on this. And speaking of punching, Iron Mike Tyson perhaps getting back in the ring. He's going to be taking on Floyd Mayweather, as I talked at the top of the show. I, for one, hope that Tyson could get some of the stench off of that ridiculous situation that we saw on Netflix with Jake Paul. No
Right.
date's been set, but Tyson is adamant that it's on, so we'll find out. But the reason I'm even bringing up Iron Mike is not so much that. This past week was the anniversary of this gem, James Buster Douglas, journeyman heavyweight fighter. He was ranked in the top 5 heavyweights at the time. Far from a bad fighter, but definitely pulled off the upset of the century when he knocked out the undefeated, invincible Mike Tyson in Tokyo, Japan. So much was riding on this fight as Evander Holyfield was waiting to get his hands on Tyson and make probably a trilogy because those two were the best two fighters in the heavyweight division at the time. This changed the history and trajectory of boxing. This is post Teddy Atlas. Tyson did not train for this fight. Um, just one of the unforgettable moments, not just in boxing, but in sports history. I remember watching this on HBO Boxing as a 9-year-old, and I just could not believe what my eyes were looking at.
You could say possibly biggest upset in sports history.
I think the only thing that you could even put comparably to this would be the USA kids beating the Russians in the Olympics, and maybe the New York Football Giants beating the Pats, maybe the New York Jets beating the Baltimore Colts.
Right. It's and it changed. It wasn't just, oh, he'll bounce back or whatever. It impacted so much. It changed the trajectory of the division. It changed the trajectory of Tyson in general. Like, yeah, it was
It
crazy.
also really put under a microscope how piss poor the corner of Mike Tyson was in this fight. They didn't even have Enswell in the corner. They weren't even projecting that Tyson was going to get hit that much. Tyson notoriously at this juncture of his career only had about maybe 3 or 4 fights that went past round 8. So
Right.
conditioning, especially when you were taking it easy, so to speak, and looking at this as just some kind of, you know, warm up fight. The narrative here and the thing that drove Buster Douglas to fight the fight of his life was the death of his mother. And I also think a life of pain of being overlooked in a
Yep.
very gritty, be against the world sport, because there's nothing more singular in being alone than when you are in, you know, baptism under fire, so to speak, in the boxing ring.
Right. And I always say, like, I don't care who you are, how great you are, don't ever underestimate your opponent, regardless. Like, you have to train properly. You have to have your mind set properly because anybody can get you. I don't care who it is.
What was so interesting about this fight was Douglas fought a genius fight in the sense that he was a bigger fighter. Now, this is, of course, before he had his first title defense where he allowed, I think, the noise to get to him, where he just put on too much weight and he fell fell to the same fate that Tyson did, where he didn't prepare for Holyfield and he got embarrassed within 3 rounds. It looked like Buster Douglas trained at Burger King. But the thing is, with this particular fight, the controversy is the long count, round 8, where Tyson
Right.
put Douglas on his back. But what a lot of people don't understand is that part of the reason why that count was so interrupted and so slow is because Tyson did not go back to his corner and there was a lot of distraction around it.
Right.
Do I think that Tyson should have won the fight based on what happened? Yeah, probably. But I think it turned out the way it was supposed to, because at the end of the day, Mike Tyson did not prepare, and Buster Douglas fought like this was the fight of his life, which it
Yep.
was.
It was
And
almost like karma in a sense for Tyson. You know, it came back to bite him.
and it was bigger than just the boxing stuff, inappropriate stuff that went down with
Yep.
with a family member of Teddy Atlas, of course, Customato probably rolling over in his grave because of the way Tyson was moving, keeping a leech like Don King around him, and of course, everybody knows Tyson got taken for a long drive by Robin Givens and her mother.
Oh
But
yeah.
Mike fell victim to too much money, the fast life, and everything happening just a little too quick. And this is an iconic moment in boxing. And one thing that I respect Tyson for is that Don King was trying like hell to get this thing overturned because of the controversial, um, long count. But
Right.
Tyson refused and said, "I'll get it back." I think Tyson had visions of probably, you know, getting back in the ring right away and taking the title back from Douglas. He didn't
This
get
is
that
one thing
opportunity.
I'll say about Tyson. He's never made excuses for anything in his life, and you got to give him credit for that.
No, bad decisions at all, because the current version of Mike Tyson is a man who has grown, learned from his mistakes, appreciated his blessings, because let's be real, Tyson did a lot of wrong when he was younger, and most people don't get
Yes.
the amount of chances that Mike Tyson did. So I
Nope.
think he's at a stage of his life where he understands how fortunate he is to overcome all the things that have not only happened to him, but things that he had created. But Definitely an iconic moment in boxing history as the here and now goes. I would love to see Mike, if it's a final time we ever see him with gloves on, to just do it right by the sport and try to put one on Mayweather. I think it's a little crazy that Mayweather would even call him out given the weight disparity. And
It's a risk for Mayweather, I feel. It is.
the question is, does Tyson have the hand speed to catch Mayweather? And does Mayweather still have the defensive elusiveness to make a guy like
Right.
Mike miss that often? Because it only takes one good shot, but we shall see. We shall
We'll
see.
see, man. We'll all be watching regardless.
Absolutely. I wasn't watching this because I was kind of just doing house duties yesterday. I did a ton of laundry. Exciting stuff. However, my New York Knicks blending the past with the current. Carl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, Papa Brunson on the passes, and New York Knicks legend Allen Houston winning the team shootout. The Knicks seem to be winning everything that's not an NBA title. Now, of course, they can't win the NBA title until it's for real, but I gotta say, man, a feel good moment of blending the generations. Rick Brunson has been such a good soldier for this Knicks organization, even going back to his playing days, as he was not a huge part of what the Knicks did back in the latter 90s. He was buried on the
Right.
bench, but he was everybody's favorite teammate, so to speak. And at that time, his young child ultimately becomes the captain of the Knicks 2 decades later. And it's just really cool. And you take a guy like Allen Houston, it's impressive. One of the finest sharpshooters in New York Knicks history. Never quite met his full potential, but he was a very good Knick. And Carl Anthony Towns banging them out on the threes. This is cool, man. This is cool when
It,
you see the past and the current coming together.
it was. I actually did watch it, and I thought it was a blast. Houston looks like he could shoot in the NBA right now. Like he's
I wouldn't
sharp.
be surprised. And there, given the change in the rules, there's a lot of dudes because it's never the shot that leaves you, just like with a fighter. It's never the punch that leaves you. It's the other parts of the body, like the lower extremities, the knees start hurting, the arthritis, all those anniversary pains, so to speak.
Yeah, and one of the other teams had Corey Maggette, and he was looking good too. Like he was hitting shots, and it was amazing.
It just goes to show you that, like, how good you have to be to even make it to that level because you see guys
Yes.
getting clowned like, oh, this guy makes so much money and he just sits on the bench and never even takes off his warm-ups. But these are the best of the best when it comes
Yep.
to playing a sport. But New York Knicks winning the NBA Cup earlier in the year. Now they win this. I'm not gonna lie, Corey. I've been a Knicks fan since '92. My first love in the NBA was Irvin Magic Johnson as a player. So I followed the latter part of Showtime.
Right.
But once Magic left the league, I guess I'm guilty of it on the same way that Jordan fans might be or LeBron fans. Like LeBron goes to a new
Right.
team, so now you just support wherever he goes. I took a vested interest in the New York Knicks because who did the Knicks hire? Former Showtime coach of the Lakers, Pat Riley. And I've been hooked with
Yep.
the Knicks pretty much since '92. And while I admire the late, great Kobe Bryant, and there are other Lakers that I liked over the years, Nick Van Exel stands out as a player that I always followed closely, a guy that I really liked watching play the game. Um, I never supported the Lakers again, so to speak.
Yeah.
It was more predicated off of my love for Irvin Magic Johnson as my first sports heartbreak. Some people would think that it might be something to do with a team losing a game. But my first sports heartbreak was actually Irvin Magic Johnson announcing to the world that he had contracted the HIV virus, as he was my favorite, and I
Wow.
supported him in a big way when he went head to head with Michael Jordan. Now, my first sports heartbreak truly was 1995 when the Seattle Mariners defeated the New York Yankees. I guess you could say it was
Oh
my
yeah.
third one because my
That's
first
mine.
one was probably the year before when we're talking about the strike.
Mine was 95 for sure. I cried. I
So
was
did I. So did I.
I was a kid. I was a child. Yeah. Uh,
I was a little older than
man, that
you.
hurt. Yeah. Man, that
15,
was
was I
painful.
14 or 15? I was, hold on, 95. I was 14 years old. 14-year-old Richie was devastated with seeing my favorite Yankee, Don Mattingly, walk off the
Oh
field
man.
and
Yeah.
just
It was.
having that inner feeling that I was never going to see him put that uniform on again unless it was for some kind of function or some kind of old timers day. And
Yep.
the Yankees ascension happened right after that. But
Yeah, bittersweet for sure.
yeah, and other greats followed. Patrick Ewing, the way he got dealt out of New York, definitely another disappointment. I was a little older, so it didn't quite affect me the same way.
Right.
But if we're talking sports heartbreaks, actually, no, I take that back. Before the 95 Yankees, there were the 93 Knicks. And before the 95 Yankees, there were four missed layups from Charles Smith.
Yeah.
And then you got 2 for 18 from John
Oh
Starks.
God.
So I guess you could say that the Knicks were the first contributors to my sports heartbreak.
Yeah. The
And
Bulls just always beat the Knicks back then. It was just
but the fact that the Knicks were up 2-0 on the heels of a
yeah.
left-handed dunk, John Starks over Michael Jordan and Horace Grant. Thanks a
Yep.
lot, Mike Lupica. You pissed off Michael Jordan. You should have never, ever poked the bear about his gambling habits in Atlantic City. You should have
No.
at least waited till the series was over. I'll be real with you, Corey. Guys like Jordan, they need constant motivation. And I
Yep.
personally believe that if Mike Lupica doesn't write that article, the Knicks would have won the damn series. I really believe
Yeah.
that.
Because the to piggyback on that point, Jordan used to make stuff up to motivate him. So when you actually have a reason to motivate him, you're done. Like he's gonna bury you.
I personally believe that Jordan was a little checked out of the NBA at that time anyway, because
He was.
now, albeit this is before the tragic murder of his father, which happened in that NBA offseason. I believe that David Stern was already on Jordan's ass about the gambling, about some of the
Yeah.
unsavory things, because you're our poster child and we don't need you lined up with this. Because let's be real, what's in Atlantic City? You got a lot of mobsters.
Yep. I don't think he suspended him though. I don't believe that.
I'm on the other end of that. I actually do think that David Stern wanted Mike to go away for a little while.
I think Jordan was just done. He didn't like the level of fame he got to. He was just it was
Because I've seen
overwhelming
David
for him.
Stern
Yeah.
move the goalpost at different junctures of his NBA tenure, even with the Chris Paul trade. Shouts out Chris Paul, a great career.
Retiring, yeah. What a player.
Yeah, unfortunately, never got that elusive NBA championship. His best chance was with Phoenix under the watch of Monty Williams, another former Knick. But
Hmm.
yeah, CP3 definitely goes down as a top 5 point guard all time. As the Knicks go, hey man, Jose Alvarado, a nice little addition. I like that they didn't jump over themselves in this Giannis sweepstakes. They believe in this
Right.
core. They want this core to get it done together. I agree with that mindset.
And if you look at the East, they can be right there with any team. They didn't necessarily have to get a Giannis to
I
compete.
actually think that although they're second in the East right now, I think they're still learning how to win together under Mike Brown.
Hmm.
And I also think that this is a bit of an underachievement, although they have won 10 of their last 12. I believe
Right.
that this is a team that's supposed to win 60 games at least, and this is a team that's supposed to win the NBA Finals or at least win the East. So anything short of the NBA Finals this year for the Knicks, I will be the first one to call it out. It is a big disappointment and a big
Yep.
underachievement. This is the year.
And
No Tatum, no Halliburton.
when they get out of the break, they're playing Detroit, and that's the team that they're looking at right now that they need to get over the hump against.
And they owe them one because I get it. The Knicks had a couple of guys ill and were undermanned when they played the Pistons. But the bottom line is the Pistons have been in the Knicks' ass this year, so it's time for the Knicks to change that up.
Yeah. The Pistons are a problem. They're good.
No question about it. And this is what we call a segue, folks. I didn't even do this on purpose, but we're talking about Detroit, and now we're going to talk a little more about Detroit. Tarek Skubal, this may very well be his final season in Detroit. He, of course, would love to end it with a World Series victory. I do not believe Skubal will be traded at the deadline because Detroit is chasing the brass. This segment,
Yes.
we're going to hit on our American League Central predictions. I think it goes without saying that we're probably both going to be in agreement that the Detroit Tigers are going to win this division. Last year, they had it in their hands. They squandered it to Cleveland. Then they got quick revenge against Cleveland and probably could have and should have beaten Seattle in the next round. It was a classic series. How do you feel about how do you see this shaking out, Corey? And how many wins do you have for Detroit?
I see Detroit running away with the Central. I don't. They're not going to blow it this year. I see them winning about 95 games.
I'm with
Because
you. I say anywhere between 95 and 97. Let me do some quick math here. 95 wins, 162. What would be the loss total on that? That would be 75, right?
for 95 wins, that would
Yes.
be six. That'd be 67 losses.
67 losses. I'm not the math guy. Thank you for that. 95,
Yeah,
67. You know what? I could rock with that. I could rock with that.
that's a hell of a year, honestly.
Truthfully, Corey, I think it might be enough to be the one seed in the American League for the sheer fact
Yeah,
that
yeah. At worst, it would be the second seed. I think because last year, like you said on the earlier show, nobody won 100 games last year. So I think the American League, the 1-2 seeds could be in that 95 to 97 range.
I'm going to go one bet. I'm going to give them 96 wins for the one seed. And I think it's mainly predicated off of the fact that although you don't play your division as frequently as you used to, it's still a mass advantage. And I do see them really eating big time, particularly against the White Sox and the Guardians. I see a little resistance from the Royals, but the Royals are not there.
No, and those teams are just they're not up to par. The Guardians didn't make any moves of note this offseason besides extending Jose Ramirez. Like they're a gutsy team and they have a good manager, but it's not enough. Detroit is just better. And the only thing that could stop Detroit is themselves. So
Yeah, I think the only way that this could even become some kind of a race is if the Tigers had mass injuries. Now, of course, we said it on our previous baseball show. Framber Valdez, the number two now for this team. You have Casey Mize coming off a career best season. You don't really have like the superstar in that lineup, but you
no.
have a lot of really good hitters, contact
Yeah.
guys, guys that can hit for some
Yeah.
pop that all
You have an
complement each
ascent
other.
yeah, you have an ascending young core. You got like Torkelson and guys like that. They've kind of been playing together. They come up together. They got some pop in the lineup, but like you said, no Aaron Judge, no Shohei, no Acuna, that kind of guy.
Yeah, they don't have
But
like the kind of talent of yesteryear, with even for a short period, like a guy like a Cecil Fielder who was mashing home runs in
mhm.
his heyday.
but they have a good lineup. And the division is just terrible. Like if they played
Yeah,
in
I
the
share.
East, it might be a
Yeah,
different story.
yeah, I share your sentiments on that. Personally, if I had to pick a second place team, I think I would go with Kansas City.
Yeah,
I'm going to tentatively give them a record dead on 500 at 81 and 81. That's the difference between the Royals and the Tigers, in my opinion. I think the Tigers win this thing by like 15, 16, maybe even 17 games.
yeah, and I
81 and 81 won't be enough to get the Royals in the playoffs either. They're going to be a
no.
competitive squad, but they're not going to be good enough to make it to the playoffs.
And with Scooble, this is his last season, so he's entering free agency. I think he just goes into free agency and people fight it out for him. I don't think there's going to be a trade. Tigers are going all in this year, so there's no way.
No, I tend to agree, bro. I tend to agree. So your final win total for the Detroit Tigers looks like 95 and 67.
Hmm.
All right. I'm going to go 97 and 65 for these Detroit Tigers. Not speaking for Corey, this is just my pick. Give them 97 and 65. I got the Royals at 81 and 81. Where do you see them at?
Kind of similar, I would say. Probably at best 82 and 80, but I'm with you on the 81 and 81. And that's basically, the Tigers running away with it. Um, I just don't see them
Now,
blowing it
this
this
is
year.
where it could get depressing. I think the Cleveland Guardians are going to fall hard, hard.
They're
Give
due
me
for that.
seven. Give me 70 and 92 for the Guardians. That's
I
rough.
think that the Guardians are like the little engine that could team. That they
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
over
yeah.
they overachieve a lot. So I
Well,
think
yeah,
this might be the year that they just fall. Yeah, you're right.
they're gonna look like every once in a while when Tampa is just so overwhelmed with constantly losing talent that they have one of those stink bomb kind of years, even though Kevin Cash is a great manager. I think the Guardians are going to reflect that too.
Yeah, and
Um,
I like Steven Vogt as a manager too. I think he's very good. But yeah,
no,
it's,
he's really good, but you can't compensate for all this. And then, Emmanuel Classe with his bullshit. This
oh
is
my goodness.
crazy.
That is a crazy story. That's a whole show,
And I
practically.
hate to say this. I hate to say this because I don't like to take any credit away from the Yankees. But from a credibility based standpoint, do I completely trust that he didn't throw a couple of meatballs to Stanton and to Judge? I don't know.
In the playoffs. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know, man.
He threw games flat out. He threw games.
Yeah, now the question is, did he actually throw games in terms of influencing the result, or was it throwing games in terms of a couple of hits for like smaller things? But the
Right.
bottom
He
line
had
is, you can't
apparently
he's done.
he'll never see. Honestly, it's worse than anything Pete Rose did.
You took the words out of my mouth, and you're 100% right on that one. But yes, really bad stuff. In last place, without question, I'm going the Chicago White Sox. Oh
I'll
my
get
God.
I'll give them credit though. I do think they got some nice young pitching, and they did add Murakami, so that's going to be interesting. So they won't be completely unwatchable.
Can they win at least 65? I don't know.
Yes, maybe.
I'm going to be an ass. 60 and 102 for those clowns.
They did improve last year, and I know there wasn't I mean, the year that they had prior was one of the worst in history, but the Rockies almost matched them. But yeah, the White Sox are shooing for 100 losses for sure. But like I said, I think there is some hope there.
Now,
They did
taking
get
it a
Mir.
step
Yep.
further, so the Tigers are the universal pick to win this division.
Yep.
How far do the Tigers go this year, Corey, in your estimation? I got them 2 games better than you. You have 95 wins. I have 97 wins.
Yep.
It averages out to 96 wins, which is damn good. So, how do you see this playing out for them in the postseason?
I I like their team. I if all goes right, I like Seattle better, and I like the Yankees, and I like Toronto better than them. I just think they're, as far as a complete roster, I would choose those teams over them. So I could see them possibly bowing out in the first round. That's what I would say. Not to, you know, be negative, but I just
The
think a
thing
couple of
that they
teams are
got
better.
the thing that they got going for them, if they do indeed get the 1 seed, is that they could avoid one of the American League East power teams because they're probably going to play each
Mhm.
other in the first round, which is a help.
Yeah,
So
them.
in that regard, that's a good thing where they could avoid the Yankees or a Red Sox or a Blue
Yes.
Jays,
If
assuming that
they
the
do
East sends
that,
three again.
yeah, if they do that, then they could make the championship series. They definitely need that home field, um, but it's hard to predict, man.
My prediction is that the Tigers will be one of the teams in the American League Championship Series
Very plausible. I think.
because there's this one team that plays in the Bronx that I have a feeling could be looking at once again a familiar foe in AJ Hinch, a familiar face in Gleyber Torres, and if we're going cinema, Billy Chappell.
For the love of the game.
Now, compared to like other flicks, Field of Dreams and Bull Durham, of course it's not in the same breath, but I thought it was all right.
It's a good movie. I like it. And you can tell, like, Kevin Costner, like, you can tell he loves baseball. Like,
No question.
he would he wouldn't be in that many films.
Oh no, the man has a profound love for
Yeah.
sports in general because I thought even Draft Day with the late great Chadwick Boseman
Yeah,
was pretty
yeah.
damn good.
That's a good movie too. I like that.
Yeah, Chadwick did good. Even with the 42 flick depicting the life and times of the late great Jackie
Oh
Robinson, I
yeah,
thought that was pretty
really
good
good
too.
movie.
One last tidbit on these Tigers. Um, I have a feeling that Justin Verlander is going to be a very positive contributor to this squad.
I agree with that.
Coming back
It,
in his final run in the MLB, I have a feeling that Verlander is really going to do some good things for this team.
yeah, even leadership alone, he will make a large impact. But like you said on an earlier show, he's gonna be solid if he's healthy. Like I really believe he'll pitch fine.
No, I share your sentiments on that, Corey. And the pressure's off because, like I said, you got three guys in front of you. And I said it last time, I'll say it again. This is more predicated off of the AJ Hinch connection, not the connection
Yep,
of him being a legendary Tiger that
yep.
may very well pick their hat. Because
But
the only other option would be the Houston Astros. And I think, given the controversies, Verlander might go in as a Tiger.
right, and I think Tigers fans are ecstatic. I'm sure. Like I highly doubt they ever wanted Verlander to leave. Although the irony in that is when Verlander got traded to Houston, a lot of people thought he was done. So
No, for sure. And I mean, this is not the first time people thought he was done. I read
yep,
something interesting, switching gears for a second. Max Scherzer, should the Yankees at least look into it?
sure. I
You
don't.
like I don't even know why that's a question. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah,
Because if you bring
why
in
not?
Scherzer and he shows that he could be one of your five starters, my prime candidate to help out that pen is Luis Heel. Because if you get Luis Heel's walks under control, that's a lot of hit and miss shit he's bringing.
Yep. And that's Heel's one bugaboo.
Swing and miss is what I meant to say, not hit and miss.
Right. And that's why I like Cam Schlittler and I like Warren because those guys have good control and they don't walk guys. So yep,
Yeah, and in a hitter-friendly ballpark, that's huge. Because if you're going to give up homers, you want to give up the solo shots.
exactly. You can't walk guy. It's a cardinal sin. You can't do it.
Yeah, especially in a ballpark where the dimensions from left to right are very favorable to pull
Right.
hitters. Or even oppo shot guys, because Jeter in his heyday hit a decent amount of home runs to right.
He did.
Whereas I will forever get in Richard Dorney's ass about him laughing about Judge, oh, the Yankee Stadium home runs, and then he hit that Titanic bomb in City Field.
I recognize the Yankee Stadium has some favorable dimensions, but I think the narrative around the ballpark is just overstated to death.
Yeah, but
It really
a lot of the haters act like we don't have pitchers that it affects. It only affects the road
right.
pitchers.
Or they act like the park doesn't play favorable or doesn't play fair in general. David Cohn has brought this up a lot. Like Yankee Stadium plays fair. It
No, I tend
really,
to agree.
yeah,
And while center field is not exactly the old school Death Valley of the original Yankee
well,
Stadium,
but it's still a poke out there.
no question, no question. But he's Corey. I'm Richie. That's your AL Central picks. We're going to be doing more baseball related content as the season comes close. Look out for the shorts. I'm going to be dropping some shorts. I'm going to chop some up from here as well as giving you some live thoughts with regard to Major League Baseball and probably all the topics we hit on today, ranging from Cardi B, Steph Diggs, 50 Cent, G Unit versus Ja Rule, to
Yep,
even the legendary Douglas Tyson fight.
and today NBA All Star game, so that should be fun.
Yeah, I do want to ask you this on the way out, Corey. Um, I've always kind of seen the NBA All Star game as an afterthought because of the way that they keep menacing with it. Do you like this
Right,
world versus USA thing? Or do you think
I
that if they
do.
really wanted to bring the eyes back, how MLB for a short while, meaning I think like 5 or 6 seasons, maybe I'm wrong, something like that, they had home field advantage on the line in the All Star game. Do you think that would make the players care more?
Oh, absolutely. But I don't want it to happen because I think they deserve the break.
No,
Like,
I feel that. After, I just want them to care more. That's why I'm a
yeah, I
traditionalist.
understand that.
While I love West
Right.
versus East,
Yeah.
but my biggest thing with this All Star stuff is that I just don't want it to turn into such a disappointment that the NFL Pro Bowl has
Right.
been. And I get it with all the evidence linking CTE to the sport. You don't want a game that doesn't count to contribute to any of those things or possible injuries.
Right.
There's a lot of big money contracts on the line. And when I think about it, it's actually kind of crazy how hard the Pro Bowl guys used to go in the 80s, 90s, and such. When you
Yeah.
really think about it, it's actually really hard to believe.
And the All-Star games in MLB, like, look at, remember Pete Rose
Oh
taking out
yeah,
the catcher.
it's a different kind of pride that these guys
Yeah.
showed back then, you know. But
I, I think there's a happy medium to it. I don't want them to, make it a blood sport, but I do want it to be competitive.
yeah, I'm
So,
sorry, and there's no knock on flag football. It's about to be a U.S. Olympic event, and more NFL players are saying that flag is the way to go to harness your skills before you put on the real pads, even as a teenager still doing flag. I understand that there's a value of it being a really cool sport. But when you grew up in the 80s watching the likes of Mark Bavaro and Lawrence Taylor, it's not the easiest sell for an old school guy like me.
right. Yeah.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
tune in and watch Shador Sanders, who had 10 interceptions versus seven
Right.
touchdowns. It's just not must see TV for me at all.
It isn't. I haven't watched the Pro Bowl in years, to be honest.
I think the last one I watched was when the late Sean Taylor blew up Brian Mormon. And I don't know what was more shocking, the fact that he knocked the punter on his ass or the fact that the punter got up and was like, yeah.
I
Brian
used to
Mormon
watch
was
it
a
though.
tough dude. Brian
Hell
Mormon was a
yeah,
tough dude.
for sure.
That ain't a punter. That's a football player. That's a difference.
That is a fact. But
And
yeah,
man,
like,
the rugby guys are laughing at all of it. They're like,
oh
whatever. And
yeah.
so are the hockey guys.
Oh, hockey guys are probably the toughest athletes out there for sure. Those
Yeah.
guys just expect to lose their teeth and they're okay with it.
And, and you know what I'm expected to lose as a New York Ranger fan? My patience.
Are they bad this
M-
year? I don't really keep up with it much.
Bad is an understatement, dude. They are like literally the worst team in hockey right now. And
Oh my goodness.
that little bridge of a rebuild to stay competitive just really blew up in their face. And it is an utter shit show.
Wow.
So
That's
thank God that the Knicks have a chance to win a championship. And thank God the Yankees have a chance to win a championship. And thank God the Giants finally got a formidable coach that could take them back to the promised land because the Rangers, it's going to be a long time.
yeah. The Giants are headed in the right direction. They got the right man. They just
Oh,
need to
no, I
keep
can't wait.
Dart. They just need to keep Dart protected. No more concussions for
Yeah.
that man.
No, there's been a ton of mock drafts that have been going down. I myself have been doing a decent amount of them lately. And I'm going to share my most recent one here. All right, let me just get rid of a photo so I can put this up for us. This will be the final thought of the day here, at least for this show. Boom, there you go. Caleb Downs out of OSU, the safety, first pick at 5. I did not trade back, forward, or sideways. I kept everything intact. Anthony
He's
Hill
great.
Jr. Yeah, Caleb Downs. Like,
I
that's the
watch a
guy
lot of
Harbaugh wants.
Downs is a stud, man. I'm telling you. Like, yes, take him, please.
Malachi Fields, opposite of Malik Neighbors, I like from my Notre Dame Fighting Irish. He's also 6'4". I think I did a good job of making this make sense. UTSA's running back Robert Henry Jr. I think would be a nice compliment to Cam Scatabo, as I think Tyrone Tracy will probably be the odd man out, being that his rookie deal comes to a conclusion, I think, after this year. So with Scatabo coming off the serious injury, I think it's important to keep adding talent to that backfield because I think in today's NFL, unless you have a Christian McCaffrey or a Derrick Henry or a Saquon Barkley, I think that the committee is the way to go. And while I
Yeah,
love Cam Scatabo, and I'm not saying he's not capable to tote the rock 20 plus times, I want to preserve this kid.
for sure. There's very few um, soul backs that carry the load and are great anymore. It's just not a thing.
Yeah, and I mean, you even see the rigors of, and the wear and tear on Barkley. I mean, people forget he had a lot
Hmm.
of injuries with the Giants. He
He
played
wasn't
hurt
the
more than a few
same
times
this
with the
year
Eagles.
for sure.
Nothing
Yeah, he
was the
wasn't the
same
same
about the
this year.
Eagles offense this
Nope.
year, and they
No.
call that the Kellen Moore effect. When you have success, you lose coordinators, and we're going to find out if the Eagles are able to get back to more efficient offense because it was evident that they were behind a few steps this year, and it played a huge part in not being able to get out of round one while being the defending champions. Before Corey, I am Richie. If you haven't already, please make it a point, like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie X Jr. Sports Podcast, on Apple Music, on Spotify, anywhere you listen to your music. Check out Old Man Energy Volumes 1 and 2, produced by our own Idris Salam, aka Bosco from the Bronx. Definitely give that a look.
Yes, sir.
All right, Corey, good having you here. And
Yes,
I look
sir,
forward to
man.
getting back with you and getting more guys from the team for our next baseball show. Baseball around the corner, Olympics in full bloom, March Madness around the corner. And then we got the NFL draft. So, lots to be excited about
Um,
here. And maybe we'll have a few more clashes with the Ink and the Unit because these guys just can't seem to ever stop. I mean, they might be in the retirement home still beefing.
they might, man.
Guys, guys, just hug it out. I mean, enough is enough
Really,
already.
you're in your 50s now. Just get over it, man.
Yeah, and Biggie, stop rattling the cages and calling
He's an
fabulous a
uh,
squatter. Jesus, enough. Come on, love
50
each
is
other, guys.
50 is a funny guy. You got to admit that at
No,
least.
no question about it. He represents the borough well because Queens is known for having the biggest trolls in the game. But come on,
Yeah,
50.
yeah, exactly.
Time to love somebody.
Thank you for power, though. Love it.
Oh, absolutely. You talk about something that never ends. I mean, man,
Yeah,
just keep
I
watching.
love
It's great.
all of them, all the spin-offs. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're out for now. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the NBA All-Star game. Peace.
Later.